This podcast is brought to you by Guiding Growing Minds, a social enterprise that aims to give all children the best opportunity to reach their potential and succeed in living rich and meaningful lives.
Dr. Billy Garvey, this has been episode 92, Matrix and Big Feelings, part 2. What are people going to learn this week?
Amazing questions, so much so there might be a part 4 to Big Feelings.
Wow.
It's just
big episode,
the
big
most,
topic.
most questions we've got in the highest quality. But yeah, hopefully we go practically across all age groups actually, and some really specific scenarios, and some great contributions from you, some great tips from listeners, beautiful reflections, and a heavy one at the end that you did really well reading.
Yeah, tough one at the end there. Great contribution. We love when people happy to bear a bit of themselves. It certainly makes it more enriching for ourselves and the listeners. Guys, we hope you really like this episode. We will be back for episode 3 2 weeks from now. Please send your questions.
And just hit a mill. Just hit a mill.
Just hit 1 million downloads.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
you.
So thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Oh,
You're amazing.
Thank you. Yes, you're amazing. Look forward to another episode after this, but send your questions through to popcultureparenting@gmail.com. Don't send questions through to the Instagram. It is a little bit jammed up. Enjoy the episode, guys.
Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician.
And I'm Nick, a developing parent.
We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids.
This is Pop Culture Parenting.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.
Good evening, Dr. Billy Garvey. How you doing?
Good. I've been doing horribly, but brighter because you're here, mate, as always.
That was a good little lead-in chuckle. Lots of fun. I'm pumped to be here for part 2 of big Matrix and Big Feelings.
Yes, there'll definitely be a part 3. There could potentially be a part 4.
Really?
Well, if people want it, if you and others want it, because, we've never had so many questions and, and the amazing questions. People are getting so good at writing in questions
my
that,
God.
I think I had about 300 and something when I first started looking at them. And I reckon the first 9, I was like, I think I have to use all these, every one of them. I was like...
I'm not sure, this is completely off topic. You know, Nick Cave has a blog called Red Right Hand.
Yeah.
And he just had his 100,000th question.
Really?
So the fact that you say, I'm up to 300, I'd only heard about this blog last week off the back of this. He reads every single question.
Yeah, wow.
That's his commitment. He goes, I'll read every question that's come through.
If anyone knows him, connect us. I want to know how he does it.
Yeah. But just interestingly, he's got, this is my 100,000th question to the person who'd written it, so I'll answer it. Anyway.
Yeah, wow.
Sorry.
And do you know what I've just realised? You probably realised this as well.
Oh, yeah.
Milestone.
92?
1 million downloads today.
I didn't see it today. I didn't see it.
No,
really?
second half of today ticked over to 1 million.
I was onto it 3 days ago. I knew it was close.
Yeah. How's that? Sorry, I should have had something for you.
Well, a popper? Like a...
I was thinking more of an alcoholic beverage, but a popper would have been.
I will take the drink.
But and there was something else I was thinking of as well. But this episode is probably the most vulnerable out of all 92 of this whole thing just being about me.
I'll go.
I've had a lot of practice with Big Feelings in the last fortnight, fairly chaotic, and as I said to you, 2 little sick kids, Annalise on nights, and it's been just me, and the 1-year-old usually breaks first, and this is the problem. I don't know how you did this, but having them in the one room, it's got a 2-bedroom place, at the moment one of them stirs when they're both sick, I just have to get that kid out of there because I can't let them wake the other one, and I failed at it 7 nights in a row.
So I
ended up with both of them.
I've never had the 2 of them in the same bed until they were 2. 2 and 4 is when I started. So I don't know. Like this is early doors, mate. 1 and 1 and 3. 3 is early doors.
Yeah. So low light of the whole week. Midnight last night. I think I had it down to 80 questions. And I heard a thud and a cry, and Charlie had rolled off the bed in the sleep suit onto the floor. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? So I thought I had him barricaded in with pillows, and it's always held, and he didn't. So, yeah, not the best safe But yeah, so I was like, how about we just get a cot and put him in our room and just bite the bullet on this one. So, yeah. But once Annalise off nights, it'll all be fine when the expert's not flying solo. So,
it's lucky you're very good at it and infinitely patient.
oh, mate, I've struggled so much with big feelings in this last week. Yeah.
How could you not? It's a big ass, 2 sick kids.
Yeah,
1
2
and 3.
sick kids. All of my protective stuff has dropped. I think I've been to the gym once. I normally go every day.
Every day.
I'm just
It's
being...
the one thing.
I ran before this.
Are you fit, Inca?
At like 6:30 at night in the dark, in the cold, with a dog, with a lighting up a disco collar on.
Tonight. Oh my God.
With a disco collar so that cyclists could see her. But yeah, so I'm very...
Cyclists could see you.
yeah. Sorry. So no, it's but yeah, it's been crazy, but phenomenal questions, phenomenal feedback. Even if we do 4, we're only going to get to a fraction of them.
And how's the book going?
Good. Thank you. Really good. It's phenomenal. Like, it's amazing that people like it because if I'm being honest, I was a bit worried that without the special sauce of Nick McCormack.
The book probably hasn't helped my future.
It's missing.
Wow, I really can do it solo.
No way, mate. I'll say to everyone, this is the best thing that I do, including clinical work.
You know, I'm first to say, I've got to be honest, I probably read 2 books a year at the moment. Just, life, whatever. I'll blame life. Probably just...
But I'm blaming life every minute of the day.
Blame life for a lot of stuff. It is, I keep saying it, like, I was like, oh, you're doing the book. I was like, it's great. People are going to love it. And I was like, I'm a podcast guy. This is my thing. I listen to podcasts. I'm on a podcast with you. It is the easiest read and so good.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't in my intention, which is quite funny, but a lot of people
I know, yeah, not to say like, it's not a page turner. You don't pick it up in the airport and just brush through. But like, I read it and I reread it and I let it resync. And then I do listen to it because I've got the audio version as well.
Well, I reckon you've helped people. Heaps of people got the audio version and then they bought the hardcover to do the notes. A lot of people are asking for your cheat sheet, mate.
I've got a cheat sheet.
So yeah, a lot of people want it.
For 3 episode.
Oh, chapter. Oh, I've seen it. I didn't notice it was. Yeah,
it's chapterized. So just on two topics that I'm working on with one of my kids.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's an amazing cheat sheet. And
it's short.
So the book is, I think it's sitting at number 7 or something at the moment, which is amazing.
Mate, it's been out for a month?
Yeah, 3 weeks, I think.
And it's still at number 7?
Yeah, it's, who knows? But
I don't know. We don't know about books, do we?
I have no idea about books. But people leaving reviews, that's amazing. There's some really beautiful feedback in those reviews. It isn't available overseas yet. There's a lot of people asking about that. The book is a strategy. It's a reach tool to try and get evidence into communities. And we're just looking for a publisher in the UK and the USA. So a lot of people are trying to find it, and we're just trying to find a way, which if we can't, we'll probably just start selling it through the social enterprise. But that admin load is a bit beyond me at the moment. So, it's amazing. But I've got some people overseas in contact that have read it and liked it as well. So hopefully it's going to be relevant for those communities because
it is.
Yeah, it's just about helping. And I just had a therapy session this morning about all of this. So we'll see how much that comes up. Amazing. I'm in such a privileged position to be able to do that. And obviously I'm trying to help people that can't with this stuff. But a lot of this topic, like you said so articulately in the last episode, it's about us, and this is stuff we need to work on. And we'll kind of spend this episode focusing on some bits more deeply. And I've parked some of the other stuff for future episodes, reflections on big feelings. But yeah, mate, it's amazing. And like my therapist talked about, like so much of this just goes back to our childhood, like it's, and that's, without, and I guess like for me, and I don't know what it's like for you, but for me, a big part of why I'm doing the podcast is, because I want to help, and it's really, and it makes me feel good about myself and improving the community of my kids in the future and all of that stuff. But a lot of it's my childhood. I couldn't help the kid I was. I couldn't help my mum, and now I know what to say to people when they're struggling, when they're suicidal, when they're finding they can't go on and all those things. I've skilled up really well in that by some of the best people and just want to kind of be providing that help. And a really big part of it, which just to be really vulnerable, is that kind of overcompensating of just, being told the whole time, and this is right off the back of the therapy session, so sorry for the overshare.
Do it.
That I won't amount to anything. And so hearing that I was a bad kid and all that stuff, I think I'm still playing that game of like trying to prove people wrong and like, and that's why I shouldn't be dependent upon the affirmation of people, but it's just really nice. And that feedback means a lot to me about, the book and the podcast and all that stuff.
Still
it's
feels
such
good
a privilege to get to do it.
Being told you're doing a good job, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope it does for you because you've been such an integral part of this. And then we get to do this work, we get to think about how we get better at big feelings. And I reckon out of the two of us, I struggle with this stuff way more than you. This is the most important of all the topics we've done for me, I reckon.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness, I hadn't anticipated that for you, to be honest.
God, mate, you've been for years and years a shoulder for me to cry on, like sometimes literally. But, mate, I struggle with big feelings almost every day.
Yeah, I see that, but, oh, God, yeah, I don't know how you do what you do.
Professionally, you mean, or like
just No, but like it's you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, but I think I do that intentionally. It's a defense mechanism. It keeps me busy. I operate in pressure. I operate in difficulty. I operate in that stuff, and I wear it as a badge a bit unhealthily. And that's what's been beautiful about focusing on this topic. I've had some small wins, and some.
Tell me about them.
The best win I had was the next day. On the podcast I talked about Melfi getting attacked and me just blowing up.
Yeah.
The next day I went out for the next run. At sixth time, just attacked. Dog was not even on a lead, just was off lead in an on lead section and just comes and runs and attacks Melfi. And I did a little bit of what we've been working on. Before I went out, I was like, I'm going to be vulnerable to this. I've got to get prepared. I was thinking about the situation, all that stuff. What I did was I gave attention to a different thing. I focused on just keeping her safe instead of getting angry. I checked and realised I was getting angry, and I appraised the situation and said the best possible scenario here is if I stay calm. And I just said, hey, mate, she tried to call it back before it attacked her and it ignored the owner. And I was like, hey, mate, if you can't control your dog, like once I knew Melfi was safe and got in between her and the dog, I was like, if you can't control your dog, mate, you shouldn't have it off lead. And he literally said, I'm really sorry. And I was like, and I just kept running. And I was like, maybe he doesn't care. And he just said that. But that's the best result I've had out of every time that's happened because I'm really vulnerable to that. I go towards stuff. I get angry and I go towards things. And I didn't that time. I kept my calm and I was like.
When you say you're vulnerable to that.
Well, I'm vulnerable to like, especially, people who are being aggressive or careless or like I lean into it. It's an unhealthy form of masculinity in me. And I don't want to cut in too much because I've talked about it on a podcast recently. But that's my framework.
Fallback.
Yeah, that's my fallback. Is strength, aggression, hostility. And it's not assertiveness. It's really, we've got an amazing question about this actually, but it's really unhealthy anger management. And so I work really hard on that. But I've failed at it massively this week because I've just been way beyond my capacity. So that's why it's beautiful to have this to actually focus on while I'm like immersed in the literature and evidence about it to be able to work on it. But great. It'll be cool not to just talk about me, but to explore how you found this as well.
Yeah, really useful. I think the preparation stuff's important, like having switching the default of how I'm going to go with this. Going into those situations, like I've been lucky. I've just been away for a week, and in case there's like a 5 or 6 hour car drive, and I'm like, this will be what it will be in this car, and it's not easy with 2 small kids, and so I'm like, how am I going to make this not try and boil over when I'm driving 100 k's an hour?
Totally, and so much of it's like whether I'm going for the run or you're going for a 5 hour car drive. It's how you go into stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the self-awareness bit to be like, as I head into this, I will. And so I've got up in the morning every morning this week and been like, I've had 2 hours sleep, I've got 2 sick kids, this is going to be chaos, and it was because I just went in with that attitude, you know what I mean? Whereas Annalise is so good at being like, it's all right,
I'll figure it out. It just makes me want to strangle her sometimes because I'm like, how are you so calm? Yeah. But, you know, it's it's just that's my biggest vulnerability. So, but anyway, we should kick the polls and I'll bring you back in on it because otherwise we'll spend 2 hours to story. You'll be able to charge me at the end of it.
Hey, Billy. We asked 3 questions of the audience this week. Were you allowed to have big feelings as a kid? 77% said no.
What's your answer to that?
Somewhere in the middle. With my mum, I could have really big feelings.
Yeah.
And probably not so much with dad. I just kind of just wouldn't have those big feelings. But I mean, overall, mum, pretty good.
Yeah, that's
Do you
awesome.
know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we were like just heaps of big feelings all the time, too much, and there was never any repair. It was just like, oh, that was 5 minutes ago. Why do you still care about that? And it was like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, because we're just shouting at each other, and like as a little kid, so you just like, there was lots of big feelings, but it wasn't really okay because it was never really repaired and recovered. So
yeah, I sort of feel. I feel for my folk. I was like the youngest of 5, so it was like big, and everyone has a really good, there's big personalities in the house.
Yeah.
Like me times 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's quite a few of us. So
yeah,
it was just kind of like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And some amazing reflections in the questions about like my parents brought up a lot of kids and that was really intimidating and trying to replicate that,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a good point.
Imagine having 5 kids. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're always dodging big feelings now?
For listeners that didn't see the poll, the Matrix.
Oh, sorry.
Bullet time dive.
No, that's
73%.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Sorry. And on the first one, 77% said no. I didn't include it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they were really similar. It's really funny because at first when it was like just a couple of dozen people, that's what percentage it was.
Yeah.
And when it was thousands, it was the same. Like, it's wild. But yeah, so yeah. And then what, the third one?
Would you feel like you're dodging them though, Billy?
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm intentionally dodging them because I can't face them. I don't have the capacity. That's my plan B.
Yeah.
Totally. Do you do it?
I have a joke about it, but it's not like, just push that feeling down, just like.
Oh, yeah, totally. But you do.
But we say to each other, we look at each other,
I think
I'll just push that away for now. And you go, we'll just do it later.
I think I included it. A phenomenal OT. You gave us some feedback. I think it's at the end of this.
Yeah, right.
The last thing we're going to read for this episode, just to warn you, you're going to have to read it. I do not have the emotional capacity.
God. Okay. Have you mastered the art of remaining calm? 76% said no. No chance.
No.
I'd like to think that I'm at that stage where I'm not meant to with small kids.
Yeah.
Not an excuse, but I'm like, everyone's like, I feel like I've got this, I'm coming out of it a little bit is what people say to me, and it doesn't feel as intense as it was because both my kids can communicate and articulate what they want and stuff, and they're more reasonable.
Yeah. What do you think about the percentage, 24% of people that said yes, they've mastered it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. Mastered. I mean, you form a master, like on top of it.
Yeah,
you know
see, I worried about that a little bit, and I've got to say this like ultra compassionately, but the hardest families that me and my team have in clinic is the parents who are like, there's nothing wrong with my mental health. I don't need to see someone. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and it's like those are 2 families that I'm not winning with at the moment, and both of them are like parents like, no, my mental health will be fine when this kid is. And I'm just like, oh man, and just get defensive when it comes up, and I totally understand it, but it's hard, So yeah, I just worry about that, about like some of those people being vulnerable. Maybe none of them are. Maybe everyone that said I've mastered it has genuinely mastered it, but I think there's power in being vulnerable and saying I haven't, I need to get better at it.
Yeah, not thinking for the thousands of people that answered the question, they may well have read it and been quite articulate. Maybe they think I'm on top of it, like I'm winning.
Yeah.
Instead of like I have mastery.
Yeah. I spelled something wrong in this run of polls. And someone in about 2 minutes sent it to me correcting it. And I was like,
it's going to be a long 24 hours.
Yeah, anyway. And then what are we? Sorry. Yeah.
Winter reflections, Billy.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I think I ordered them, didn't I? So are you first or am I first?
I'm first.
You're first, okay.
Hey, Billy and Nick. First of all, thank you for not just creating the podcast, but for sticking with it. You're so close to 100 eps, and I hope many more to come. It's honestly cycle-breaking, life-changing parenting education gold. But I know you probably hear that all the time. I work in perinatal mental health and find myself constantly recommending your podcast to parents that use our service. It's just so good. Anyway, I just wanted to share an experience off the back of your Big Feelings episode. I hope I'm not too late in getting the email through. This story is about my 3-year-old daughter's biggest big feeling episode to date. It happened when she was almost 3. One day, early this year, we decided to go grocery shopping as a family. Mistake number 1. Fairly close to my daughter's nap time. Mistake number 2. It was going as well as can be expected until it wasn't. My daughter had grabbed something off the shelf and I calmly asked her to put it back. She hit the deck, kicking and screaming, the whole lot. Side note, why do the worst tantrums always happen in public? I got down on her level and was speaking calmly, but her brain was offline. We were almost finished, so I looked at my husband and he said he'd grab the rest of the stuff. I decided that removing myself and my daughter from the shops would be the best way to de-escalate her. I gently scooped her up and headed off to the exit of the grocery store. And as I'm leaving, an older lady said to me, "Oh, my grandchildren have those moments too. It's very normal." I just smiled and said, "Yeah," while my banshee crocodile child was continuing to thrash and wail. She managed to scratch me in the face a few times, and as we were walking out of the shopping centre, I felt her bite down on my upper arm as hard as she could. Tears welled to my eyes, and I made sure not to look anyone in the eye. I feel like sometimes I disassociate in those moments. We got back to the car and I sat her on the back seat and shut the door. I sat myself in the front seat, and once I shut the door, I just started to cry. I looked in the mirror and I had blood on my face and really looked like I'd taken a beating. A lovely lady caught my eye and mouthed, "Are you okay?" To which I nodded and smiled. I really appreciated her reaching out at that moment. My daughter had now calmed down and said to me, "Mum, there's something on your face." I said, "That's blood, honey. You scratched Mummy and now she's bleeding." My daughter then climbed in the front seat and sat on my lap facing me. She said, "I'm sorry, Mummy." And I said, I'm sorry that you felt so angry. You feel so angry sometimes. It must be really hard for you." She looked into my eyes, leaned into me and started sobbing and said, "Yeah, it is." We were both sobbing and hugging for a few minutes. My husband returned. When he got into the car, he told me he'd just been called a bad parent. I said, "What?" Once he walked out of the aisle, a man in his 40s made a beeline for my husband and said, "Oi, mate, you need to learn how to parent." My husband looked at him in disbelief and said, "Sorry, what?" Thinking he must have misheard him. And this man replies, "Yeah, she needs a good effing hit." Luckily, my husband is very calm, very quick-witted man, and just turned to the man and said, "Mate, your brain is as undeveloped as hers," and walked off. Felt so bad for my husband that he experienced that. Then I just felt angry. Angry that people think it's appropriate to speak to others like that, and also angry that people still believe violence is an effective method of parenting. I would rather my daughters have the feelings she did, and me respond in the way I did, because it helped us find a way back to each other, rather than her alter her behaviour, but fear or resent me. Anyway, I'm glad to say we haven't had a tantrum that intense since, nor have we had awful encounters with other humans like that since. Sorry, no, this was a long one, but I want to share the story in the case other parents can relate to this situation, and also as a reminder that it's so normal to judge others, but to voice that judgment could ruin someone's whole day. So just choose kindness. Have you guys ever experienced the kindness or nastiness of strangers when your children have had big feelings in public? Thanks again for all you do. Big love. Whoa, I hadn't read that before the app.
Yeah,
I am tense.
It's going to happen a couple of times too.
That is
just
tense.
to warn you. Yeah, so has that happened to you?
Someone commented on my parenting. No.
I was the other day cruising around the hardware store, just for overseas listeners, Bunnings for Australians. I worked there for like 5 years, driving forklifts, still can't find what I need to find in that store. and will refuse to ask. I'll walk out without finding it.
I don't look for anything. I only ask.
That's how much more secure
I have a
you
list.
are.
I go, which one? And they go 13. I go, cool. And this? And they go 12. I go, keep going, mate. This one? Cool. Thanks, mate. I write it down and keep going.
Yeah, that's
anyway, crack on.
amazing. No, so I was in there the other day and I actually used feedback from a listener. This Evie, like I've got Charlie in the trolley and Evie likes pushing around the little kids' trolleys and she's pushing it around and I'm kind of apologising for her because she's kind of swinging people's way and stuff. Everyone was really nice about it. And this one woman is like, said to her, stay on your own side. Evie didn't catch it. So I was like, and I used what the person said. I was like, imagine the most compassionate story for that woman. And I was just like, she's probably having an awful day and she's, it's triggered something in her that's an awful memory or something like
tactic,
that. But
really.
I was like, well,
That's
yeah, listening gave it to us. But the flip side, very quickly, people come up, sometimes and say hi to us. It's this beautiful frame that Evie sees the world in because she always thinks strangers come up and say really nice things and say hi to her. And so that's why I love it. 3 people spoke to that family. We'll go through them from worst to best. The the bloke who comes up and says, she needs physical discipline, which is evidence is wrong. And who thinks they've got the right to do that? Anyone on the socials that criticises anything anyone has said just immediately gets deleted and blocked because I just have zero tolerance for that stuff. What did the grandma say?
You did a great... Oh, do you need help? Are you okay?
No.
Oh, sorry.
As she was cruising out of the store, said my grandkids are like that. It's normal.
Yep.
So just dismissing, going past all of that and not helpful. But then the beautiful thing that someone does is just say, are you okay?
Hang on. You didn't like the grandma said?
No, I just think it's a bit like, it's not checking and seeing where the other person is, like, because that might not be helpful. It might be, dismissing it. It's like it's okay. It's like saying it's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I just really liked what the mum mouthed to say, are you okay? And that's what we should do. Like, check in with other people, check in with the kids, all that stuff. I just thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you. But maybe I'm being
a bit unfair.
Go for it.
All right. So second reflection is, hey guys, you get enough feedback about how great you are, so I won't gush too much, but listening to the most recent podcast about big feelings, and in particular Nick talking about how he was more focused on himself, which is probably more in reference to him getting a handle on his own big feelings. I would like to relate to that because I think a lot of us parents listening to this podcast are healing ourselves as much as not wanting our children to suffer the same dysfunction we did, though nobody's fault. And it probably starts with us learning and unlearning things first before we can best support our kids. I'm sure there's an element of me sending this in that is the child in me wanting to be heard and helping me heal. Nick, please don't underestimate your role in this. You're removing the shame and guilt for all of us. Billy, you're wonderful, but you already know it. I had a huge Griswold the other night where I lost the plot at bedtime. I so often try to think about the advice you guys give us in the moments. I become flooded. Such a beautiful word. I feel it as flooding.
Flooded's the best word.
Yeah. The same story as always at bedtime, staying in the bath, resistance, more playtime, you promise this and that, I need a third drink of water, back scratchy, books and so on. Yeah, I think probably everyone's feeling that. My patience ran out and I just started yelling, and even whilst I was yelling I could hear my brain telling me to stop, but I didn't. Eventually I came to, told the kids I was leaving the room and I'd come back when I calmed down. I took a few deep breaths in the kitchen and went back in. My kids are in a bunk. I looked at my daughter in the top bunk and apologised and said I'd be with her in a minute. Then I climbed in with my younger son in the bottom and told him I'm sorry. I cuddled him and talking to his dinosaur and tried to finish with connection. Rinse and repeat with my daughter. I told them both that they're beautiful kids. I find myself using the language you guys use. As I was leaving the room, my son said sorry. I turned around and said he had nothing to apologise for. I lost my temper when it's my job to support them and not the other way around. I said I got angry when I shouldn't have, and I can't change that. All I can do is try my best to repair the situation. Not a great moment, not even sure I repaired it properly with them, but I hope what they saw is that we all have emotions and that sometimes we aren't in control of them, but how we respond afterwards is just as important as feeling everything. And if Dad can make mistakes, then they sure as hell can too. God, I hope I'm not stuffing them up. Beautiful. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yep.
It's all in the repair.
honestly, feeding him, that was what my real focus was the last 2 weeks, was that bit after. So I cut myself a little bit of slack. I was I blow up. Like, I just do. Like, I just sort of go, I need to step out, and I'll be like, hey, sorry, Dad was upset. And I just needed a moment, and they sort of just look at me and go, and then just trying to like show them that.
Yeah, beautiful. I think it's beautiful and very compassionate, vulnerable sharing. So amazing. There's a few more like that coming, just to warn you. But the shorts aren't like this.
Okay, shorts are fun. Just double checking we're recording. Like, that's why I look down, just to make sure. I get worried that it's not recording sometimes. That's all. I'm not checking the time. I'm not. I just
we're
worry.
good and potentially settling.
Okay, we're going to bash through some shorts.
Yeah.
We're going to bash. Are we going to bash through some shorts?
Let's go quick.
It's very strong language, Ramon. Billy. Okay, Billy. How to help a child navigate big feelings when you don't know how to yourself.
What do you got?
Oh, great self-awareness, knowing they're not great at it. Starting point.
Yeah. What comes first?
Assess the situation.
Sorry, what comes first? The kids learning how to do it, or the parent?
Dad.
Yeah.
Mum. Sorry, don't know why it's your dad. Mum's just seem to be better at it.
I think they are. We might even talk about that towards the end.
Okay.
So you work on it yourself first, do it really purposefully. There's probably a question where we'll step through it a bit more in detail.
And just on that, not to elongate the shorts, that's what I was talking about last week. That's why I was like, no, this one's important for me before I start trying to teach a kid anything.
Yeah.
I've got to show them first, like how I deal with it and actually figure it out myself anyway.
Yeah, so think about it. We've talked about, like, I've stayed intentionally out of co-regulation. People asking co-regulation questions is a whole two-parter on it.
Not that.
What we talked about last time, situation, attention, appraisal, behaviour. Like, think about those bits. Where do I need to work on it? You know, for me, the situation is how I prep for it. The attention is what I think about and focus on. Appraisal is how do I kind of think about this stuff. And then my behaviours, I'm just trying to think, what can I do that's slightly better? You know, but anyway, we'll go a bit deeper into that.
Hey, Billy, my child is often wetting their pants during big feelings. How can I support this?
This throws me right back to one of our classic movies. Some would say not an award winner.
Oh, Big Daddy?
Billy Madison.
Oh, Billy Madison.
Remember we used the saying?
Oh,
everybody pees their pants. What's the quote?
That's so cute.
Yeah, but it's actually, for like a ridiculous movie, it's actually a really nice, beautiful moment because the kid is wetting himself because he's getting scared, and he goes and wets himself to show him it's okay. Now, we don't need to wet ourselves, but show kids it's okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's just fear and anxiety and all that stuff. And, you know, it's really important. Same with all toileting accidents, sorry.
I've learned that. I've definitely learned that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's just that.
Yeah. Just being calm about it. So,
yes, I've learned that.
So, throwback to, like, I think it was only our first 10.
Yep. Billy Madison, our first 10.
Yeah, we did a lot of Sandler.
We did a lot of Sandler, really.
How we became highbrow.
How can spicy parents meaningfully parent spicy kids when all are overstimulated?
Now, I'm not kidding. I used the first 10 that they came, so I just completely ran out of time. And this is how good the shorts were because there's hundreds of them. These are the first 10 we got. There was a question that I don't think I used where someone talked about how they have hypersensitivity to noise because of their neurodiversity. And she's like, so I've got these like soft earbuds. And she's like, when I roll in the house and know it's going to be crazy, I just pop them in. And she's like, I can hear the kids, I can hear everyone talking, but it just takes the edge off.
Takes the edge off.
And she's like, well, the only problem is my husband usually gets to them before me, so I've had to order a second pair. I was like, that's just such a great strategy that she's like, I can hear them talking, I can hear their questions, like it's all safe and stuff, but it just takes the edge off. And it's this beautiful, like, practical strategy for like...
But it's also like a signal as well.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for all your energy, kids. I've got the...
Yeah.
Just...
Earmuffs. If we ever do swearing, we'll do earmuffs. Earmuffs.
Earmuff it.
But yeah, I thought that was great.
Okay. That's...
Yeah, sorry. I'll go more into neurodiversity, this one that's coming up. So I'm just trying to be quick on the short, sorry.
Hey, Billy, resources or programs to teach kids how to manage big feelings?
Yeah, so this is for schools. The reason I just left this in the first 10 was, we're trying to do this more and more. I think I've got 5 talks next week, 2 of them at schools, which is amazing. But yeah, it's really important that they're evidence informed and they're co-designed and tailored to what the school's needs are. That's what we kind of know. That's what PhD showed. There's also like amazing other strategies like Berry Street and stuff like that goes out there. But yeah, definitely. And there's another amazing short coming up about it.
So you could come and talk at this school potentially as well.
Yeah, or even just help them access resources and stuff like that. So
cool.
Feel free to reach out.
Hey, Billy, why am I so triggered when my little one cries?
Yeah, why do you think?
I'm trying to figure out what they mean by triggered exactly.
So maybe they get such big feelings when their kid's having big feelings. Why is that?
You get sad when they're sad? Or do they sound they get angry?
No, so my interpretation of that is like, why does my emotions so big when my little kid is having big emotions? And it's because like we're biologically wired to connect with them so much. And, that's why... Yeah, and it speaks to a bigger picture of like the intensity and connection and proximity of our relationships is why they heal and hurt us so much. Like it's all about that. We should do a topic just on relationships because that's it. We have these intense relationships with the kids that
they heal and hurt us so much. I've never heard you say that.
Yeah, really. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah.
The give
that's
and
attachment.
Take, the
I'm not going to open the attachment box back up for a while.
That's not. Keep it closed.
But yeah. Anyway.
Hey, Billy, as a teacher, how do I navigate big feelings when parental support isn't what it could be?
Amazing question. Amazing. And just that's why you are the number one professionals out there in kids' lives. So as a teacher, there's 2 bits to that. Yeah. Learn what works for the kid. Yeah. And then find the hook to bring the parent in. And then hand it to the parent.
What would a hook be to the parent? So the parent's not interested. What would it give me? Just give me an example. I just want to hear an example of what a hook is.
Yeah. So a hook might be like, hey, like, you're doing so much, you've got so much on your plate. Do you know what we found with little Billy?
Yeah.
If you catch him when he starts getting a bit tense, just give him 30 seconds, drop down to his level and just say, hey, mate, how can I help?
You reckon that's all it takes?
And then, if you just give it a shot for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to tap your shoulder the next couple of weeks, see how it's going, because I reckon you're juggling so much and this might make it easier for you. Yeah, so just give it a shot. I found it works.
Is it working?
He's such a great kid. See so much of you in him. Like he's just, he's such an asset to the classroom. I reckon we get the best of him because we catch him early, drop down. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
What do you need from me?
He's hard to rein in when it all goes south.
Yeah, but just not forever. Just give it a shot.
Yeah, all right. I'll give it a crack.
I'm going to tap you on the shoulder in 2 weeks and see how it's going.
All right. Sounds good.
Beautiful. And maybe we'll try and do another role.
Don't. I could ad lib all night, Billy. Hey, Billy.
Yeah.
How do we actually learn to self-regulate? How do you learn to self-regulate?
Yeah. So how do you think?
Practice.
Yeah. Practice. Like this is a 10,000 hours thing.
Yeah.
This is one of those things. The beautiful thing is you can get that 10,000 hours in about 15,000 hours. You don't need the 10 years to clock that. You probably know the maths. How many hours in a year?
I don't. You tested me.
We will do rain eventually. But yeah, so you have to really know as well. So that's why the psychoeducation is the first bit of it. Understand where the pressure points are and where the learning is. We've talked about one learning process. Maybe in a future reflection on this topic, I'll bring in another one. But figure out like what we know, and we'll talk about mindfulness in along. Like there's certain techniques that work for lots of people. Try them for you. Do them really purposely, and not I'm trying to get better at self-regulation. Think about I'm trying to improve how I interact with my partner. Okay. I'm trying to make the mornings easier with my 2 kids. I'm trying to be not so reactive when someone intimidates me. I'm trying to not be so hostile when I'm driving my car. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then learn about it and go, cool, what works for me? And, we've talked about a few of them in the past, but we'll go deeper in the longs.
Okay. 87,600. That's how many hours there are in a year.
Bang.
Hey, Billy, how do you address big feelings in ADHD when everything is a big feeling?
Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing, and I don't know if I've spoken about this before, and I wish I could remember the guy's name, but there's a guy who talked about, like I've changed it slightly for mine, but he talks about people with ADHD are like Ferraris.
Yeah.
And he's like just really quick and fast and awesome. Like, and that's how I see them. Creative, like, can just go at stuff quicker, go at stuff before we've even realised it's there.
Yeah.
And he talks about he's a specialist that works with them, and he's like, I'm a brake specialist. I'm going to get you better on your brakes. Now, what he actually means is impulse control, and that's what we're talking about. A lot of, what we have to learn is impulse control. How do I just hold? And as everything, you get good at impulse control in the safest environment with the person you feel most comfortable with small challenges. And the last place you get good at it is in the classroom where you feel overwhelmed and the subject you struggle with the most. That's where ADHD kids really struggle with impulse control, or when they're emotionally dysregulated. So that's the last place. But help them learn that. That's a common element of kids with ADHD and big feelings, is that they look like they go from 0 to 100 really quickly because they're like Ferraris. And what you want to teach them, and we might do that in a future episode, is teach them impulse control.
Okay. Wow. Hey, is it okay if my kid yells and screams and runs off, but then comes back for a hug? Oh, yeah.
It's more than okay.
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
The best. They come back to you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you've done all the work prior to that that's actually made that kid come back and give you a hug.
Yeah, it's a great sign.
Oh, well done.
So that's everything. We always want, no matter what happens, to feel comfortable to come to us for support.
Winner. Hey, I knew that.
Yeah, bang.
Wow,
Sorry.
God.
Crowding.
No.
Grabbing you. Grabbing your stuff.
Hey, how do you help your husband deal with big feelings first before dealing with the kids? Ooh.
So, yeah, do you want to role play this one?
Yeah.
You be the husband.
Oh, I'm gonna give him what for? Where is he?
I'll take this one.
No, I'll do it.
Go take a breather. You've been flat out all day. Got every reason to be stressed. Go have a breather. Do you know what?
What?
What do you feel like doing later?
Pizza.
Beer?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Barbecue chicken? Pizza?
Pineapple. Sorry. It's Billy's pizza.
And then what I would do is get you rested, get you in a place you feel safe.
And
so I'm not doing it then.
Try and educate. Don't educate at the moment.
Yeah. Hey, babe. Hey, babe.
Yeah.
You're doing such an amazing job with Billy Jr.
Yep.
Raising him to be almost perfect.
Yeah.
But I can tell it's stressing you out.
Does.
Yeah. So you're so good at this. But I reckon one of the things is you care so much about him that you get really fired up when things don't go well. I reckon you do so many things well, and I reckon this will be something you'll do really well as well. I think we've just got to help. All of us have got to help you get better at just those really big feelings. And I reckon we're just going to do it slowly and together. I'm going to give you this great podcast, these two real handsome roosters, with deep dulcet tones, and you're going to learn about it. But it's important, isn't it, like saying, it's important, isn't it, that you don't do it in the moment, that you do it compassionately, you do it with purpose and reason and kindness. And I'm going to do it with you, I'm going to help you. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's how it's got to come.
Yep.
Those are tough conversations. For me, when I have big feelings, hot tip, I just need someone to acknowledge it. Once that happens, it cools me down so quick.
What does acknowledgement look like?
For me, it's
someone's
just
big feelings rather than telling them.
Yeah, well, do you know what it is? It's the woman mouthing, "Are you okay?" in the car. That's what it is for me. Not someone saying it's normal or you'll be fine tomorrow or why are you struggling so much. I just need someone to be like, "Hey, that looks hard. Are you all right?" And I think that's a lot of kids, you know. I think it's probably you too, mate. Like you know what I mean? You respond so well to sensitivity and kindness and, you know, affirmation, like lots of us. And so if you can come from that point, you can often, it's like what I'm talking about is like almost a behaviour change strategy based in kind of motivational interviewing and all that kind of stuff, which we do in a future episode as well.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll just be so much more receptive.
Cool. And I'll try and get better at my maths next episode because I think I added on a 0 to my answer before. And I've been thinking about it.
I can't believe you can stay in the game the whole time while you're calculating.
I can't.
You're doing well.
I'm trying, Billy. Hey, Billy, long questions, got 9 of them.
Okay,
now,
beautiful.
For 45 episodes, second parts we've done so far, I've read every single question. This week I slipped up. I wasn't able to read them in time ahead of the episode.
Oh, that's okay, mate. You're You do it perfectly. Don't feel bad.
And so sometimes I get the tone a little bit off. I'll think it's a fun question, and then it'll...
Well, hot tip, the last one is...
Oh, don't.
Is tough.
Okay, great. Dear Nick and Billy, first of all, I want to say thank you for everything you do. I've listened to each and every episode, and they have been so helpful for all segments of my life, parenting, relationships, and teaching primary school kids. Love a teacher. This is great. I look forward to Mondays when the episode is coming out as if it was Christmas, and Christmas is my favourite day of the year. Both of you are amazing, and I recommend your work wherever I can. Now to my question. I have a beautiful 3-year-old son who was born prematurely and spent a month in NICU, neonatal intensive care unit.
Bang, yeah, well done.
I went there once. It was me visiting once a day for an hour. Both his birth and the period after were very traumatic for all of us, and I feel like his big emotions and feelings started the minute he was born. He was crying a lot, needed to sleep in our arms, and still has a lot of problems with falling asleep. Never liked having baths and showed his frustration clearly. He would start yelling and become purple the minute water touched him. We started physiotherapy when he was a few months old and needed to do exercise at home multiple times a day and at hospital once a week. Not one of them went without screaming, shouting, kicking and protesting. Most of those sessions end with both of us crying and exhausted. When he was around 2, there was also a period when he would bang his head on the floor or wall when he got frustrated. I feel like those big emotions are just growing bigger as he's getting older. When it comes to his health and progress, everything is okay, and not one doctor and a huge number of specialists were involved in his progress have ever worried, but I am starting to be. Some time ago, he started to bite or hit himself when he was angry. We talk a lot, read books, validate all his feelings, try some things together that may relieve stress and anger, but nothing works. My heart breaks every time I see his bruised arm, and I feel like I'm failing him. He's generally very loving and kind, and I just don't know how to help him with those big emotions. I have 2 questions that I ask myself every day. Could it be connected to his birth and the time he spent in NICU? I'm sure it's very traumatic for him too, although he cannot remember it. If yes, how can I help him? Second question is, how to react when he starts to bite or hit himself. We always stop it physically and hug him, but often cannot do it before the first bite or hit happens, so it ends up with bruises. We try to connect his thoughts. We try to redirect his thoughts to us and talk to him, but sometimes he just gets more angry. I sometimes feel like it is just him and his personality and want to accept it. But at times it feels not normal. Once again, thanks for each minute you put into the work. Sending you to love from Croatia.
Yeah, we got a few people this episode that got questions from overseas. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's amazing. Yeah, so 2-parter. So the first part, yeah, like kids who have experienced that early life adversity, like being born prematurely in NICU and not a lot of like this beautiful, like, you know, the neonatal nurses and stuff and midwives are phenomenal in this space. I get to work with some of them every week in a particular clinic. And we know that contact and touch and emotion and connection, all the rich stuff we've talked about in attachment is really important. But this kid's fate is not decided. There's 2 things that influence us in this space and big feelings and our emotional reactions and responses and capacity. It's our temperament, which is set. Yeah. This kid's got a sensitive temperament. I've got a sensitive temperament. I love kids and people with sensitive temperaments. He'll always have a sensitive temperament, which is why the biting and distress that he's experiencing is going to get better from all the amazing stuff this parent is doing, which is kindness, warmth, connection, sensitivity, responsiveness, just pouring love into this kid's life will make up for that early, you know, separation from that primary caregiver and that challenge and stress. It will come back, and that's why you will see that reduce with time. What to do, the reason that often kids do this, and we see kids in clinic, I've got this beautiful 3-year-old girl at the moment, I hate using heavy medications, and I've had to. Me and this mum, like I held it together, but just had a pretty emotional moment where we realised we had to use this heavy medication because she was hurting herself so much. This kid's got like autism, intellectual disability, doesn't speak, but she's like one of the most beautiful kids that I've ever met. And she's got this brother who's like the same diagnosis. He's a couple of years older. He is the most beautiful kid. He's the same, and he just protects his little sister. He can't talk either, but he's so, and they're just role modeling their parents. Their parents are like amazing. They should be doing this podcast, these two parents. They're phenomenal. And it was just quite sad for us because we'd push back, but the amazing therapists were like, it's time. We've done so much therapy. I think it's time. And I spoke to her today, actually, to Mum, and things are way better on the meds and stuff, but it was really hard. And that medication won't be on for a day longer than it needs to be.
Yep.
But she's doing the same stuff, and it's because she's got emotional distress, and often that's a coping mechanism. I'm distressed, so they do something that causes that response, even to themselves, just biting, hurting themselves, hitting their head, all of that stuff. It's just an unhealthy coping mechanism, and it's just, stopping them physically from hurting themselves, showing them that you care and you comfort and it's okay and they're safe, and trying to alleviate that distress. Exactly what that parent is doing is the right thing.
Okay.
But tough stuff. Yeah. Yeah, they're the best. You know some people that are dealing with similar stuff. They're just amazing.
Okay, number 2. Hi, Nick and Billy. I just started listening to your podcast after a fellow parent recommended it, the Matrix episode. That was a great one for me to start on. My 6-year-old daughter frequently experiences big feelings, and they are contagious in our house, especially to me. Thank you for the help you've provided. Like Nick, I'm trying to translate the episode into my own cheat sheet for specific steps I can take in the heat of these moments to help my daughter self-regulate instead of spiral, and help me to keep my cool. I've taken away your pointers about debriefing with my husband or writing it down, but I do that afterwards. How can I be more helpful in the moment? An example helps. In a few weeks, we'll have book week at school, and there will be a day where my daughter will dress up in costume. I have a hunch it's going to be a really good teaching opportunity, and I'd love some tips on how I can make it a positive learning experience, or at least handle it. That hunch is based on this morning. It is costume day to celebrate 100 days of prep and getting ready for school. This morning was very painful. As has happened before, it seems my daughter had an idea of how she'd look, and when it didn't play out precisely like that, she became increasingly distressed. She likes to be in control and is a confident kiddo. For example, she redid her costume, powder hair, face, paint wrinkles over and over, yelled at me that it was my fault she didn't look right, eventually slammed the bedroom door and shouted, "I'm not going." In the end, I went out to the car with my 3-year-old to hose off the frost, and my daughter came out minutes later with her costume back on and jumped in. The second we got to the school gate, she was overjoyed, grinning from ear to ear and enthusiastically joining in with her peers. I'd really like to avoid those big feelings on book day, and I'm looking for tips, please. I certainly feel like resigning as mum and preparing her to get herself ready. I certainly feel like resigning it as mum and preparing her to get herself ready. Or maybe we should have a practice run or run of the complete costume. As an aside, it's not fair to my little one that she just has to amuse herself while my daughter and I battle it out. And I also want to use these opportunities to teach her a better way to go. Thank you. It's very distressing for me too.
Yeah, I thought you could feel that one.
I know that one.
But what do you think?
Got something coming up.
Yeah, so how are you going to...
I loved what they talked about rehearsing, like to what extent and whatever capacity the parents got to go and do it, setting up 100%. I like that personally.
So what do you do? Not completely dysregulated, but one of the girls is getting a bit irritable about something. Feeling the pressure, they're trying to do it perfectly, they're getting annoyed and going, "Stop it, Dad," or "You're making it worse," or what do you do?
Because this happens, I try not to overlabel the feeling they're getting, but I'll sort of talk to them about the feeling. I said, "Are you angry, upset? What are you worried about?" And then how bad do you think it'll, and what happens if that does go wrong? And then try and unpack it with them a little bit.
Yeah.
So like I look terrible. I go, "You're worried about that?" And they go, "Yeah, of course I'm worried about that," sort of thing. I'm like, well, you know, it's like that performance thing we talked about. I can't remember what it is, where you go like, "Oh, that'll be bad," but how bad will it actually be?
Yeah. What's an alternative and stuff like that. So I don't have that high level an approach to it, but I just did it tonight, and I've been doing it all week actually, and failing at it most of the time. Like, so the trick is not to fall into the trap of a battle, and I often fall into the trap of a battle.
You want to be on their side.
Yeah, so tonight Evie was just started escalating a bit because she didn't want to eat her dinner. So just going through this real phase of like choosing stuff and then not eating it. You know what I mean? And like Charlie's just like hoeing into anything next time. And we've made like whatever Evie wants, and she's like, "Nah, I don't want it." And like she starts like pushing it away. And Annalise is really good, but I think this is one of the few moments where I can shine a little bit, where I just lean into her a bit, and I'm like 100% calm. Not all the time, but just tonight, 100% calm. And I'm like, hey, we can do this. And I lean into her. And if she shows me that that's okay, she often comes and then sits on my lap. And then she'll often eat the food together. But it's really important. My goal is not for her to finish the meal. My goal is for us to be doing something together, combining our powers. Let's just have a little bit. And even if she won't eat any more, I still want it to be a positive experience, because I want her to see it felt better, things became calm, the stress came out of the moment because I connected with Dad, because I engaged with him, because he engaged with me and all that stuff. And then what I find is over time, whether it's brushing teeth, reading a book at bed, brushing her hair, like I talked about this ages ago, that's kicked up again where she's really struggling. And Annalise is amazing, but she gets really distressed about it because it just hurts her, and she's, you know... But I literally just get in the bath with her and she brushes my hair first, and I do it really, really slowly. Like it takes us ages, but my goal, and Annalise, you know, was a bit frustrated because I said I'd done it and I only did half her hair, because I realised where her limit was. And I was like, I care more about me brushing your hair being a positive experience than I do getting every knot out of your head in this one time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's my goal, is like... make the goal small enough that we'll succeed, and you'll feel like you've succeeded in us doing this together. You had one bite, we got half the knots out, whatever. I don't push through and battle her to finish the meal, get every knot out, whatever. My goal is that we did well together. I stuff it up most of the time. I don't want to sound patronising, but...
Yeah, it's really good. Far out, need another cheat sheet. I really like that. Just like one mouthful, half the knots out.
Whatever it takes for us both to feel good about us coming together and combining powers on this. That's it. The smallest step necessary to step forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't feel bad. The amount of people that say they sigh along with you, the amount of people that were like, I reckon, I'm not kidding, over 100 people would have said this episode came at the right time. The start of the long. I was like,
I'm writing notes now.
I feel like we could have written this. We could have done this episode any time, and 100 people would have said this is the perfect time. But it literally is the perfect time for me. I've never had a week of such big emotions since Yvette's been born.
Okay.
We're up to 3.
Up to 3. That's all right. I don't even know what the time it is. I'm what I mean.
This is just for you and me. Even if people stop listening, we're still doing this.
I'll be here later. We'll have a...
We'll celebrate the 1 million downloads.
Yeah, that's what I was motioning. People can't hear the motion, but yes, afterwards we'll, have something to drink. Hey, Billy, question number 3. Hey, Nick and Dr. Billy. Thanks for the time you spend on the podcast. You're both brilliant. Short. How do you manage big feelings when a situation is entirely reliant on the child following a reasonable request? Can I be assertive with my child? For me, it feels like anger, so afterwards I apologise and she apologises too. I feel like my assertiveness bubbles out in a very similar way to anger. How do you know when we are stopping the bullets and not just dodging them?
Yeah, great. That was the long, isn't it? They gave a
That's
long
the
version
short.
of it as
There's
well.
a long.
There's a long. Do you want to tell the long?
Okay, I'll do the long.
Because it's just an extension of the question.
Sure. No worries.
Sorry.
I can do that, Billy. The long, the context. My wife and I have a 5-year-old daughter, Lisa, not real name, it says here, sorry, and a 10-month-old son. This week, my wife has been away and I've been listening to the Matrix episode on repeat, trying to make it sink in real deep. The day after listening, I was doing bedtime with Lisa. The baby was in his sleep suit. We had done showers, dinner, dessert, FaceTime with Mum, and now it was time for teeth and toilet, the last steps before books and bed. Did I write this question?
Yeah, I know. I was reading it. Yeah, I think that probably came through while this was happening to me.
1,000 people like, was I sleep deprived and wrote this in? Is this me? Sorry, this is just everyone. Our shower has no door, so the floor was wet, and the 10-month-old was ready to get wet in his sleep suit.
Yeah, they just go for water, don't they? Once you put them in the final outfit for the day.
Lisa wanted to do everything in the bathroom except brush her teeth. And I mean everything. I was holding the baby, who had turned into a death-rolling crocodile, desperate to play in the water. I was repeating the request to Lisa and explaining the situation to her. Lisa kept finding other things to do. I ended up snapping at her, which she finally responded to. How do we slow down time in these moments and stop the agents from dominating us? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad a few people, because I'm always worried that I haven't put it together well, the concept. No. But I was like, yeah, hopefully. Anyway, so this is different. So there's, in short answer, be curious. That's how. Like, check my own emotions, all that stuff, but be curious what's going on here. There's often two different things that are happening here.
Yeah.
So think about three things that kids need. The thing that that parent is trying to provide is boundaries and expectations. And the kids actually need them to feel safe and secure in the world.
They do.
Yeah, but what else do they, I won't ask. What else they need is they need an expression of emotions and they need autonomy and a sense of competency, especially in this age. So it'll be one of those two things, I reckon, that when we're struggling at that time, you're tired and you're distressed and you need to express your emotions. And I'm blocking that a bit because I'm not giving you a pathway. I'm just saying, hey, pajamas on, brush your teeth, and I just need to give you an outlet. I need you to have a valve that lets go and says you're tired. And that we need to connect with that, validate that, express that before we get to it. 100%.
I know you know this, but mate,
I can say
that is so hard, that part.
Hard. Totally. But you've got it. You will find that if you do that and it costs you a minute, it saves you an hour and all the heartache.
You just said the sentence. I'd say, hey, pajamas, now we've talked about this, go.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah. So think about curious, why is it failing? You know, you need an expression of emotion, which all of us need, and it's an emotionally difficult time. There's a pressure point at the end of the day. I'm putting pressure in. I give you that, but still have the boundary. That's the thing. Everyone's like this soft parenting. It just lets them do whatever they want, be in control. No, it's being sensitive and kind.
What would the boundary be?
So you just give them time and say, hey, like, how about, why don't you do 5 big splashes, or squirt that thing one more time, or throw me out. I do this with Evie. I'm like, I've got squirt toys, and she's often squirting my clothes when she's like that, because I know my jeans will be a little bit wet, but she's got it out of her system, and then she'll jump out of the bath successfully and get dried and comply with me, because I've given her that sense of like an emotional expression. The other thing is autonomy and competency. What kids want to know is that they've got a say in stuff. And that's where like everyone knows this and it's very easy to say, but give them some choice, give them some pathway. What do you want to do first? If you think it's that. If it's emotional expression, don't do that, because you're not giving them that bit. You're saying here's a choice when they want to express an emotion. But if you think they want autonomy, they're calm, but they just want autonomy and they want a bit of control and a sense of like purpose and choice, give them choice and give them an ability to have autonomy, give them an ability to succeed in their competency.
Cool.
So what do you want to do first? Hey, I reckon you should start brushing your teeth on your own this time because you're getting so good at it. Whatever it is.
2 pathways here.
Yeah, but you don't go, hey, it's up to you, get out of the bath whenever you want. Do you know what I mean? That's too much.
There's no boundary.
Yeah, there's no boundary. So you just go define it a little bit more, but give them agency. It's really important for kids that we do that. And when we push, because the reason it gets worse is because we either completely push down their ability to express their emotional difficulty they're having at that time, or they say, I want autonomy and I want choice, and we take it away from them even more. We put more pressure in and say, I'm going to count to 3. Or if you don't do that, you won't be getting this tomorrow or whatever. And you're just worsening the situation because you're saying you want to have some sense of control and competency. I'm going to take even more away from you. So, yeah, it's just about guiding them towards that.
Yeah, it's good.
Hard stuff.
No, it's really good.
But it's often one of those two things.
You're right. Haven't said it for a while. Very good at this.
I've been waiting. It's been 24 episodes.
It's been a few. Hey guys, thanks so much for the podcast. The new book has really been a game changer for our little neurodivergent family. We have a gorgeous little family consisting of a 10-year-old son with autistic and ADHD PDA, autistic father working in health, and I'm an ADHD midwife mum. In the past, our son has struggled to go to school, and we've had periods of up to a year and a half in complete burnout. He's struggled making friends, and we've battled with school refusal. He's a gorgeous, smart, funny, delightful kid. We've managed to go back to school since the start of the year, and just recently we've started to see our son's emotional wheels start to wobble. We started taking Mondays off to try and avoid burnout, which seems to help him. Yesterday, we were ready for school in our school uniform, and our son had a massive anxiety attack on leaving the house. We managed to convince him to get into the car, as I could see he was trying to avoid school. He was pretty upset, repeating the word inside over and over. And then thought of you guys and the last episode when we were talking about avoidance. Sorry, I've buggered that up. And then thought of you guys and the last podcast when we were talking about avoidance. And so rather than going back to the house, we put the dog in the car and drove to our local nature strip by the river and reassured our son that he didn't have to go to school, but we were going to walk the dog in an attempt to try and calm down. This seemed to help. And my question is, would it have been better to just go inside to calm down in that instant before we left the driveway? Or is it best to make small steps towards a goal of school without pressure of actually getting to school? I notice in myself that I'll avoid people and situations, and I'm realising this has been a coping mechanism for myself, as my parents weren't very hands-on when I was a kid. I want to also thank you. We've been able to talk about our anxieties and feelings around different topics as a family, and as a couple before we are in crisis. I've been able to recommend your podcast and book to 2 other families who are still struggling. Sometimes being a neurodivergent family can be super isolating. I can see that the kids at my son's school aren't inclusive. I can also see that we are all he has. I can also see that we are all that he has, and it's a long day at school, feeling alone. And so I can understand him wanting to stay home. The only problem with staying at home with school avoidance is that I'd have to have extended time off work, and I feel like I'm hanging on to my registration. The good thing is that our son is super smart and can teach himself most things via YouTube. Anyway, thank you again for all that you do, and keep going. You never know how far your good work reaches. I'm definitely not one to write in with an email, but last week's episode felt like the right time, and it was absolutely amazing resource for us to weather the current storm.
Yeah, I was really proud that one came through to us.
Yeah.
I'm really proud that, neurodiverse families feel like this resource can be helpful. And, that guide, the Blade Runner one, I was so nervous that I was going to stuff that up. But, yeah, it's beautiful. I loved that example of so we got in the car and took the dog for a walk, and it's great because, a lot of everything she said about, vulnerabilities and inclusion and all that stuff, I've said all that before and I'll keep saying it. But the beautiful thing about this is often we get stuck in a binary idea of kids who are struggling with something like school refusal, where we're you have to do it, bad luck. You got to go to school. You got to learn how to ride the bike. You got to learn how to swim. Or it really stresses you out, so we won't go swimming. You don't have to go to school. We'll avoid that thing. The middle pathway is the path. It's, we understand that, we acknowledge it, we validate it, we build your skills to manage that anxiety with that so that you go back gently, gradually, successfully. That's the middle path. With every kid I've met in clinic that we've figured that out with, should be hundreds and hundreds of them. It's that middle path. It's not a binary choice. And that's what this parent's done beautifully, has said going back feels like a step back, literally and figuratively. It's too much to go to school. Let's still step forward and do something that's going to feel good and succeed, and will take us one step closer to that step into school when we struggle like this. You know, it's just a really important point, and that's why I really like that one.
Yep. Sorry, got me thinking, reflecting a lot on this stuff.
I think there'll be 4 episodes, so we're going to be reflecting on it for a while. If I do justice all the amazing questions that came in.
Hey guys, love your podcast. Can't even express how much. I've been listening very long, but I'm playing catch up now. Sorry, I have not been listening for very long, but I'm playing catch up now, and I'm learning so much and feel so encouraged. I just finished episode 91, and man, it's such good stuff. As a kid, my parents just didn't. Sorry, just give me 1 second to get myself together. As a kid, my parents just didn't have what they needed to be able to meet or manage my emotional needs. There was a lot of crying to exhaustion, which annoyed everyone and left me feeling so bad about myself. As I got older, I learned to keep myself together during the day and then just cry quietly on my own to exhaustion. But there were times as a teen that I remember crying out loud and annoying everyone. Kind of a painful memory and a hopeless time for me. Now as a mum of 5 ages, 10 to 16, I've worked really hard over the years to find healing and be the best mum I can for them. Despite all the learning and hard work, big emotions always throw me. It's like I go back to that time and I'm frozen, and then depending on how tired or distressed or rested I am, I either respond or react. I'm pretty good at repair with the kids, and then I blow it. But with myself, I often find myself in a spiral with lots of hateful scolding until I can shake out of it. Not fun at all. I feel such heavy shame when I have big emotions, and as I type this now, I feel pretty heavy recalling all of it. So anyway, all that to say thanks for the way you reminded us parents to not judge ourselves or be too harsh. I feel like for a lot of us, we can't hear that truth enough. And thanks as well for the lovely way you describe Morpheus guiding Neo. I'll have to listen again a few more times to let it sink in.
I don't think we picked that as a highlight, did we? The Morpheus quote. It was like I was crushing on Morpheus, how supportive he is of Neo.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't think it made the cut for a highlight, but yeah, no. Sorry.
Okay. I wanted to ask, with my own emotions, even when I'm doing well and journaling or working with a professional, I'm on a long break from that right now, I often don't know exactly what my emotions are about for a long time. I do try, I do attempt for mindfulness, but figuring out where it's coming from remains to be really difficult for me. Why is that? Any tips? For the kids and hubby, I work hard to set up situations or an atmosphere in the house where I can keep everyone calm all the time. Doesn't work at all, of course, and I'm left exhausted, and then they aren't learning or practicing those skills they need. I have tools to do better, but I appreciated what you said about help seeking and skill building was very helpful today. Hope it made sense. Just really thankful I found you guys on Instagram. Take care from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Albuquerque.
Yeah, there's a few really cool places that's come through this time.
Yeah. That one, just on the emotions. Do you know what the question was?
Yeah.
Don't need it again?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2 things that do not have a place in mindfulness. What do we not, when we go to a child who's struggling, what do we make sure we don't come across as? So Ronnie's, Winnie's blowing up over something.
Connect with them.
She's blowing up over something and you're like, man, this is not a big deal. What's it?
Yeah, don't dismiss their emotion.
Yeah, not being non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental, sorry, yes.
So in our own mindfulness, when we're thinking about our own emotions and thinking about how we're feeling, we make sure we don't judge ourselves, because that's where shame and guilt and anger and frustration and, being negative about ourselves comes in. The other thing is it's not about interpretation. It's about
how they feel.
Yeah, it's just about feeling it. It's not about why am I feeling this way. Mindfulness as a strategy has no, I wonder where this comes from in it. It's just acknowledging that. It comes back from like Buddhism and everything like that about just being aware of the present. When we're having a difficult emotion, it's about what is happening in my body. What am I feeling? What's my body doing? I feel tense, I feel hot, I feel flooded, I feel angry and all that stuff. It's mindfulness is not a strategy of, I wonder, there's no analysis in it. You know, there's no bit of that. So, you know, that person is asking too much of herself in the moment. She's also asking too much of herself for her family in saying that my role is to...
6 people.
Yeah, but also it's my job to make sure the environment's calm for everyone. I'm like, no, no one can do that. I can't do that. I definitely can't do that. I've just failed at it every day for a week. But yeah, it's our job for our kids is to be that safe harbour, to celebrate them leading us and make them sure they feel unconditional love and support when they need us to come. You know, they need to come back to us, not to make sure there's never a storm. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because you can't do that.
Yep.
And it's good you can't do that because it doesn't prepare them for the world. If you raise them in cotton wool and they never get distressed because of how perfect the environment is, then they won't be prepared when they leave the safe harbour or the safety net or the safe relationships that we can provide for them. You know, it's a really important skill, and I think it's one that a lot of us who are really sensitive and caring struggle with, and I struggle with it because part of me is like, I just don't want Evie to go on the playground because I'm like, some goddamn kid's going to push past her or snatch something off her or whatever. It'll be a negative experience and she's worse off from that experience, but I'm not letting her learn. I'm not letting her stretch. But I couldn't do it today. I couldn't send her to daycare. She was just way too distressed and I just failed at it. I just accepted that failure. She was so sick that it was borderline the wrong thing to do anyway. But then when she got so upset, I was like, I can't do this and it's actually me. It's not you. But I could not give her the emotional support she needed to go to daycare successfully today. Yeah. And so I just threw myself on that sword. Technically thrown at least on that sword.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you've done that before.
Yeah, I think I talked about it last episode. I've thrown Henrietta on that sword. And I held her hand walking back in. It was mum's half day off. And I was like, not today, hun. Here she is. She sort of looked at me. Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
That's how it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a beautiful parent, but you're asking too much of yourself to be able to do that. But, yeah. Anyway, hopefully that was a helpful answer.
Yep. Hey, Dr. Billy and Nick. I'm going to cut to the chase. I love your podcast and recommend it to anyone who will listen, but I've never felt compelled to write in. Mostly I enjoy learning from you and relating to you and learning from everyone else who writes in. But the Matrix, Big Emotions episode was different. It hit me so hard I cried in the car driving to the airport. I know I am lucky. I grew up the third of 4 kids in a great family, loving, supportive, fairly strict, both teachers by background, but big emotions were not welcome in our family. Certainly not anger. As siblings, we were not allowed to fight, which on reflection made learning conflict resolution skills tricky as an adult. But I actually think this was part of avoiding negative emotions in our house. Negative emotion? Watch TV, eat a biscuit, talk about something else. Just don't cry or yell or show how you're feeling. Over time, we were all pretty successful in bottling up our emotions until we weren't. All 3 of my siblings have depression. One has anxiety too. One tried to kill himself as a teenager and failed, thank goodness, and continues to battle depression. Me? I self-harmed to deal with the negative feelings through late high school and my early 20s, developed disordered eating and fell into deep depression in my mid-20s. Desperate, I sought the help of psychologists and had a course of life-changing cognitive behavioural therapy.
Bang. That's a CBT for listeners.
Yep. A loving, accepting, level-headed, supportive husband has helped too. In my late 30s, I'm a different person. My emotions no longer control or define me, and I can't believe how much easier it is to cope with adversity when I approach it with acceptance and patience. Sorry, this is so long. Anyway, I now have a 6'4", 2-year-old, also a husband, 3 jobs, and I'm starting postgrad study. But who's counting? And I feel like a whole new mountain of emotions to climb. And it feels like a whole new mountain of emotions to climb. Except I can't see the top. Sometimes I think my family is on track. Like when my 4-year-old came to me and said, "I'm feeling angry, Mum." I told her I was glad that she'd come to me and asked what I could do to help. I want to go in there, the lounge room, and do 5 things. So we sat together and we identified 5 things she could see, 4 things she could hear, etc., and felt better afterwards. And it makes me think that I can change my family's emotionally constipated legacy. And other times, my 6-year-old will scream and yell and kick and hit because she had difficulty reading a word. And when she's calmed down, I try to talk to her about her feelings and I get nowhere. She doesn't want to name her feelings or talk about them. It's so hard to know how to help her. She's so hard on herself. She's a perfectionist and bottles things up until she explodes and then shuts down afterwards. It seems to be happening more often, not less. She'll be 7 soon, and I'm worried that I can see myself and my family's emotional dysfunction in her, and I'm so scared that it will rob her for years of happiness like it did for me and my siblings. I don't know how to articulate a proper question here. Is it enough to love and accept her through these enormous difficult outbursts and shutdowns and just hope that things will change? That over time she'll become fewer and further in between? They'll become fewer and further in between? Or is there a specific action we can take to help these emotions pass through and be accepted rather than take over? Or is this a me problem? Is this developmentally normal? And is my experience clouding my thinking? Please help. Thank you for the incredible work you do. It is incredibly refreshing to hear a paediatrician speak in such a trauma-informed, neuro-developmentally protective way. Nick, I love your honesty and self-reflection. You're a great team. Thank you. P.S. I realise I absolutely did not cut to the chase. No, you didn't. That's fine.
Because it's amazing.
That's a great question. I know someone specifically who wants this answer. So please, how about it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, do you want to frame it? How do you see the question? Just because I've got a different interpretation possibly of what the question is.
I want to get specifically this part where they really kick into it. Is it enough to love and accept them through these enormous difficult outbursts and shutdowns and just hope that things will change? That over time they'll become fewer and further in between? Or is there a specific action to take to help these emotions pass through rather than take over? Or is this a me problem? Is this developmentally normal and is my experience clouding my thinking?
No. So, yes, it is enough to love them, and it's the most important bit. No, it's not a me problem. It's a me solution. That's already cheesy enough, but it's that beautiful, that like saying of like someone's stuck in a hole and the doctor walks past and throws medication down, the priest walks past and throws a prayer down, and like someone else throws past and throws something else down. The person's in the hole being like, this doesn't help. I'm acutely aware that I throw prescriptions down. I don't throw prayers down. But what I also try and do is what this mum will do for herself now that she's gotten harder, and she'll do for her daughter now, is she'll climb down into the hole and say, I know the way out. Like, that's why I'm down here. And she will know the way out for herself from the former traumatic experience that she's healed from. She will know the way through it for her daughter. The only slight bit, and yes, like neurotypical developmentally, like, we always struggle with saying things are normal, because what is normal? It's a bit like negative emotions. There are no negative emotions, but typical development is what you're talking about in a child who's got a sensitive temperament, but a beautifully responsive parent. The responsiveness is the only thing that is the important bit, that potentially someone with such a high level of capacity could do a bit more. Sometimes when we put pressure on our kids to name our emotions, what's going on and all that stuff, we've actually got to back off and say, this is what works for me as a 30-year-old, this is a 6-year-old. Getting them to name it afterwards is actually not helping them. So I'm going to be responsive and realise that and back off a bit.
Okay.
Hold the love, hold the care, Holder, I'm unconditionally here to support you. But sometimes the pressure, like most of the time, parents that are really good, and I'm maybe unfairly putting myself in that group, we speak too much to our kids. You know, we just talk too much.
Yeah.
A lot of mental health first aid and that national program's coming for young kids is not what we say. It's how we are, how we hold our body language, and we do say things, the tone of our voice, how slow it is, how deep it is, how soft it is, what our body language is like, our eye level is at theirs or below, our body is open, we're not confrontational, we sit with them, we walk with them, we open up that space. That's a therapeutic practice. It's why you're more likely to disclose uncomfortable stuff to someone you're sitting next to them in a car or walking around a park with them than you are sitting across the desk from them. That's why I'm advocating for our clinics to do stuff outside and just walk around the park. I do every meeting, no matter how bad the weather is. I'm like, all my lunchtimes have meetings in them. When they're in person, I'm like, we're walking. Because I just feel more comfortable. That's a lot of kids as well. Just walk with them. Let them talk. Don't talk at them. Like, this is an amazing parent who's come through huge adversity. And it is, a lot of it, we just go back to our childhood self. You know, we'll do that in a future thing as well.
Yep. Good. Thank you. 3 questions to go, Billy, and then I think there's a reflection.
There's maybe 1 or 2 tips and then a reflection.
Cool. Thank you so much for all your work. I recommend your podcast to every parent I know here in the UK. The episode on big feelings made me incredibly emotional. Ironic. We have a 2-year-old, a 10-month-old girl. We have a 2-year-old, a 10-month-old girl, and a 1-year-old boy. So lots of big emotions in our household. Through therapy, since becoming a parent, I have come to understand my limitations. Sorry, I've just got that wrong at the start. Sorry.
I was doing the math.
We have a 2-year, 10-month-old, so just 2 years, 2 months short. No, sorry. We have a near 3-year-old and a 1-year-old boy. Lots of big emotions in our household. Sorry. Through therapy, since becoming a parent, I have come to understand my limitations with naming and accepting emotions in myself, particularly related to anger and sadness. Learning how to do this whilst also helping my toddler is exhausting and challenging. However, I am incredibly proud of our daughter, and our daughter can clearly tell us, I am sad, I am angry, I am happy, we had fun. This does not stop the dysregulation that frequently occurs from both her and us. Whilst I don't consider myself to have had bad upbringing, I know that the way my parents handled big feelings and specifically tantrums was to walk away, ignore. Many stories throughout my life of how they would leave me screaming in a supermarket aisle, not something I want for my children. However, it feels like my default coping mechanism. The feeling in my body of wanting to run, the knowledge in my mind that this isn't good for her, and the pull in my heart for connectedness causes high levels of stress. My question is, we want to understand why. We want to understand the why behind the emotions our daughter labels so well, to really help her manage the big feelings in a healthy way. However, she's still developing language to be able to tell us. Often the response to why is garbled or I don't know. Are there some techniques we can use to try and get deeper whilst the language development continues? Thank you so much. Lots of love and appreciation.
Amazing. So 2 big things. To answer the question specifically, don't ask her. She's not even 3. Try and think about why, but she won't know. There's a lot of 13-year-olds that you ask why is that happening and they can't tell you. So you can explore it with kids that feel comfortable and have the ability to understand what's going on, but just be curious and think what's going on and think about it, but just provide support. And I think a lot of our parents did that, the walk away. The only time we should ever walk away from a kid that's in distress is because we're going to go out, get more capacity and come back stronger. We should never use it as a punishment technique. It's a really vulnerable time for kids to feel abandoned and they're not supported, and it risks fracturing attachment. It risks fracturing how confident they feel in the support of others. I walk away from Evie and, like we tell people who've got little unsettled babies, you have to be able to walk away sometimes, scream into a pillow, do whatever. But it's to come back stronger. It's a really important bit of it.
What happens if they tell you to go away? Sorry.
Yeah, totally. And if they go away, it's fine. But we never use it as punishment. You know?
Yeah, they get told to go away.
Yeah. So you respond to that. Like, you know what I mean? You go, cool, I'm going to give you some space. I'm going to come back in a couple of minutes and see if I can help you.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
If you go harder at them, you're taking away their autonomy. You're not being responsive. You're not being sensitive.
You're not being responsive because you're not responding to the situation. Okay.
And you're not being sensitive either.
Yeah.
Now, if she says, like, I don't want to see you ever again, like, or go away and you can't because it'd be unsafe, or whatever, or there's something more important that you've got to do, like keep her sister safe or whatever, you can't. But when you can, you want them, like we went back to the other question, the bath time. Sometimes kids are just wanting a sense of emotional expression or autonomy and competency.
Autonomy and competency, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a vulnerability, like in a strategy that some of us use, or I want you to suffer because of this, because of what you've done, and I don't want you to do it again because I'm going to hurt you. Like in taking away something, punishing you, physical discipline, whatever, it teaches them nothing but consequences, and people are not the path to recovery and healing. So I always try and think about that. And that's what I'm aiming for. I don't succeed at it all the time. Like God knows how often I'd hit it, but I try and hit that target as much as I can.
Okay. Yeah.
But amazing parent, to be that sensitive to the hardest window, like that's the peak. Yeah, 18 months to 4.5, 5 years is when a lot of that stuff really peaks, because...
The peak or the trough, Billy?
Yeah, that's true. Possibly the trough. But yeah, it's because what you were going... You talked about this right at the start, like over an hour ago, where you said that, you know, the girls, it's getting easier because they're getting a better ability to communicate and express their needs. And that's why 5 years it starts getting easier.
Yeah, and they're more reasonable.
Yeah, but now this kid, completely typical development, is not able to think about what it's like for the other person, or be able to articulate why I'm feeling angry, or why I just threw this, or why I just hit out and lashed.
Talked about 3-year-olds and 13-year-olds, mate, 43, let me tell you.
Yeah, I was literally, this is my mid-30s, I got started getting on top of this stuff. I'm not kidding. And it took rock bottom. Yeah, seriously. Like I'm not.
No, I was going to give you mid-30s. That was ages ago. No, sorry.
No, it's fine, mate. It's fine. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm 41. Finally.
Hey, Billy. Oh God, I've just skipped all the way back to where my notes.
I think
were.
Are we 8?
Yeah, we're 8. No,
make sure
we're 8.
because
totally
we've lost
8.
a question at this. That was just 7 we read.
Yeah, we just did 7.
Beautiful. Because I remember there was one episode we missed a really good question because we both skipped it.
Clearly, because I can't read in order.
Mate, you're amazing. For someone that has seen these, literally seeing them for the first time.
I've been sweaty about the last one for the last hour.
Yeah, you'll do it way better than I would.
Great. Okay, number 8, second last question, Billy. Hey guys, firstly, thank you for the great work you do and sharing it with the world. I'm a police officer of 18 years, and in the last couple of years have really seen the impact work has made on my mental health and parenting. Your podcast is one tool I use to help self-improve and try to be the best parent I can. I have 3 kids, 10, 8, 5. My middle child struggles with big emotions at times and results in outbursts of anger, usually towards older sibling. When the outbursts occur, I interject myself to assist the first thing, because the first thing I do is leave and go and sit by himself in his room or in the corner. He doesn't want to engage or talk. I find this frustrating as I want to hug him and help him talk through it. I often let that frustration impact my response, which I know isn't great. My question is it the right thing to do to let him take himself away and then approach him after a little bit of time? Or should I try and get to him and stay in the moment and work it through? He's such a good and caring kid and lovely boy. I want to be able to help him develop the tools to handle those emotions without the outbursts of running away. As always, your advice will be greatly appreciated. Keep up the great work and thank you.
What do you got? We've talked about it.
We just talked about it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about it. So
what do you
responsive.
Do? I'm the 8-year-old. Stuff you, Dad. Slam the door. Do you follow me in? Come back out here.
I'll come again. Hey, Billy, are you okay, mate?
No, just leave me alone.
All right, mate. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, but I'm going to come back and check in, see if I can help you get through or figure out what's going on, mate.
Just never come back. Get out of my face.
All right, mate.
Never want to talk to you again.
Yep. No dramas. Come back 2 minutes later. Hey, mate. How you feeling?
Beautiful.
Hopefully better.
Yeah, I'm just sick of my brother.
Yeah.
You love him more than me.
Oh, that's not true, mate. I love you, but I love you for a different reason to your brother. No, isn't that one?
What reasons do you love me?
Oh, look, Billy.
My hair?
I see a lot of you in me, Billy. Yeah. I've got that tactic up the sleeve, by the way.
Mm. Yeah, you
No,
feel
that one. I think you taught me that on like episode 3.
Yeah, what one?
It's the one where you go, you love him more than me. I go, no, I love you all equally, but I love you for a different reason.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And then I run off the reason.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, make them believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. So, yeah,
Anyway.
that's the beautiful,
That's
sensitive,
nice.
responsive bit.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Like, they're so pumped that we get dads that are listening
best.
to this, that
The
are
best.
like that, that are, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's amazing.
But
yeah,
it goes to that autonomy and emotional, letting them have
give
the
them the
emotion.
space, let them take the
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
You know, mental health first aid, what's happening. I go in, they run away, they get hostile, they tense up, they become more aggressive and more dysregulated, more distressed, back off.
Don't back them into a corner.
Yeah, don't never back a kid into a corner.
That I cannot remember which one was first aid. Jeez, it was a good ep. So practical. Oh,
Yeah. Thelma and Louise, phenomenal movie.
76, you loved that.
Oh, I
was
love
that
that
almost
movie.
your favourite?
I get emotional every time at that end scene where
Mental
they
health
kiss
first aid.
and they just
Yeah.
go. And yeah, Gina Davis is like, let's go. You're just like, oh man, beautiful movie. You know, Gina Davis, sorry, slight change, but she did a lot of advocacy that like something back in the 90s, 70%, 75% of characters in kids shows were boys. And she was advocating for how unfair that is, such a poor representation. So she started up a charity that did that. And now she does like other minority groups and people that are vulnerable not being represented in media. Gina Davis. We've got to do Long Kiss Goodnight.
I know.
I want to do Long Kiss
she
Goodnight
almost,
and balancing career and parenthood.
You know, she almost qualified for the Olympics as well.
Really?
Archery.
Wow. I was going to say
Legit.
figure skating or something. So you know that scene in Long Kiss?
It was
she goes
archery.
across the ice
No?
rink.
Yep, I
Yeah,
do.
wow.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she did. She finaled and stuff, but never quite qualified.
But don't you think it's the first time I've revealed a pick combo? A Long Kiss Goodnight and balancing identity and being a parent. That's what the whole movie's about.
Okay.
You know, she's
Yes.
a parent and then she
Yeah, I know.
realises she used to be an assassin.
I know.
She
Yes.
juggles with which she
Yeah.
wants to be.
And then the daughter acts like the mother in it.
Yeah.
Tells her to toughen up.
I would have been a great assassin. Did you ever have that?
Oh, no, I would have been.
Bond? Do you watch Bond and
You
be
don't
like...
even know. You wouldn't even know with me.
Yeah. But the dinner parties where you just being
Mate.
so charismatic and charming and
Oh, no.
that you're really there to save the world.
No. I'd be like Jason Bourne. Billy, far out, mate. Question 9. Hey, Billy, Nick. Last question. Then some advice.
A couple of
reflection.
tips. And
Yeah,
then,
sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick and Billy. Thank you so much for all the work you do in creating this amazing podcast. I recommend it to anyone and everyone as this and your new book, Billy, halfway through, is the most powerful, evidence-based, experience-based and compassionate information out there for parents.
Bang, thank you.
Grateful to you both and how lucky the kids that get to work with you, Billy. I may have missed the boat on questions for Matrix, and if I have, it would be amazing to hear more about your perspective, Billy, woven into other questions about how to help our children learn healthier ways of processing anger. You both spoke about social learning theory in another podcast and how as a society we seem to enroll our kids mindlessly in self-defense-based sports because we feel we have to help them if ever they're in a tricky or violent situation. Billy, you briefly touched on your perspective that seemed counterculture to this, i.e. why meet aggressive behaviour with more aggression and how that's a low-level response that doesn't teach them anything. I would love you to go deeper on your view of this in the Matrix Q&A. My son is 5 and we have intentionally not done any self-defense style sports with him and usually do take the counter-culture routes on things. But sadly, the reality is society expects we do this, and what if he was in a dangerous situation and didn't have the skills to protect himself? What can we teach him instead of keeping him safe? Sorry, what else can we teach him instead that keeps him safe but helps him transform the situation for him and for the aggressor in his early years, childhood years, teens and beyond? And does what we do for our boys differ to girls? Is there a hybrid approach we could offer them to do self-defense, but you wait until mid to late primary years? This is an interesting question, Billy. In a similar theme to this, what constitutes healthy processing of anger? Some schools of thought say that you've got to get anger out of your bodies. So hitting a pillow or a Bobo doll or buying them a kid boxing bag or something that isn't a person or animal is a healthy approach, among others. But then other schools of thought say that that's possibly encouraging aggressive behaviour, as it starts with a pillow and then a boxing bag and then it's a person. I'm yet to decide on where I stand on this. I would just love your insights. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think before I...
Don't ask me. I mean, I do martial arts. So.
Yeah, but why
I do it for fun. Like, I get bored with going, I can't go to the gym. So honestly, the reason I really do it is because it's like graded. I can see progress. I wanted to see progress in one part of my life during a period of life when it was like I wasn't seeing a lot. And I also just like, this is stupid to see. You're asking me for a sensible question. I actually really loved pro wrestling as a kid. And just loved that sort of action and wrestling mates and stuff. I really love it. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
Same reason.
Who's your favourite? WWF? Was it WWF?
Yeah, it was WWF. So it was Randy Macho Man Savage. Yeah. Randy Poffo.
A bit young for him, but I was more, The Rock.
Attitude Era.
And Steve Austin. And
anyway, so that's why, but I really do like martial arts, but that's just me.
Yeah, so totally. And that's a lot of people. I think
my kids see it at home because my partner does it as well. They don't watch it.
Your partner doing it is amazing. Doing it's amazing.
She arrived at it independent of me as well. No influence. Why is it amazing?
It's amazing for girls to do that stuff. And we've gotten so good as a society, and this is the difference between how we raise boys and girls, one of the many differences. There's a lot of, there's a big spectrum in the games that we encourage and support girls playing. They can do rough and tumble. They can do caring stuff. Yeah. Boys, no caring stuff. It's rough and tumble. It's wrestle, it's kick a ball, it's punch a bag, it's do whatever. But play dolls, play house, you discourage it. Do you know what I mean? It's weird for a boy to do that. So we're so narrow in the spectrum that they don't develop those skills. Then they get to kinder and then they get to primary school and they don't know how to care. They don't know how to be compassionate because they haven't role played it.
Yeah.
They haven't had it in their imaginative play and all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So I was driving. I hardly ever drive a car because I hate driving a car. And I was driving my vintage 2006 Subaru. I just adore it and love it. And I remember when I got it and it was the 1 year old and I was very proud. Yeah. And anyway, I was driving it down the motorway and out of nowhere, probably because I was driving too slow, this guy in a huge ute with a trailer on the back and a digger on the trailer starts swerving into me, like swinging the trailer right into just in front of me and like screaming at me and shouting at me and everything. If I'm honest, like I pat myself on the back about Melfi getting attacked. I got angry at first and sped up to be next to him. And then I was like, don't be an idiot. And it just cooled my jets. But he's going home probably to a family where he goes to violence and risk and threatening someone because someone's driving a car too slow. It's horrifying. If you want to know where all the domestic violence, all the awful stuff that's happening to women in the community is coming from, it's childhood. It's how we raise kids. The Bobo doll is a great call out. What that evidence showed is when kids witnessed adults in a playroom hitting a Bobo doll and then the adult left, they went in and picked up the teddies and started hitting them. Yeah. And they threw all the toys around and they were rough because of social learning theory, which the person says. Now, sometimes a physical outlet for aggression and anger can be a really basic, primitive way that we should give kids as a step to dealing with anger, but never the final step. We then go to all the stuff. Now, you invest in BJJ. You also invest every 2 weeks you listen to this, and then you listen to it beautifully to give us highlights. You invest probably more in this podcast because this will actually influence the quality of your life. Yeah. Thinking about this stuff, your social and emotional development, more than how good you can do a chokehold or a leg lock.
Yeah,
but do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's crazy. We think like, and there are people that fantasize about, you know, someone says something to me, I'll be able to take them. And it's like, well, you actually could learn emotional regulation, conflict resolution. We should do conflict resolution.
Yeah.
It's a skill set. Like we should be teaching kids that. What we're trying to learn is how to teach our kids to succeed in their social interactions, not to be aggressive and hostile. And it's a false sense. A lot of girls struggle to be assertive. We think boys do really well at it. They're not doing it successfully. They're doing it emotionally and aggressively.
Yeah.
And that is not healthy assertion.
No.
And it puts them at risk. It puts everyone at risk. It puts their future partners at risk. It's wild. I don't want to soapbox too much, but that's why that one made the cut. So that's my beliefs on that. That's my interpretation of the evidence. That's all these kids I see in clinic that are vulnerable to that because they've had it role modeled by their dad. This is what healthy masculinity looks like, sticking up for yourself, puffing out your chest and taking what you want and being the dominant, powerful person. Actually, it's being, yes, confident and having courage, but being sensitive and kind and generous and all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's not the, anyway, I could do 2 hours on this. I won't.
I know.
Maybe a future topic.
We've done a topic pretty close to this.
Have we? Yeah. I can never remember. Once they're done, I wait for one person to say I like the episode, and then I'm like, pressure off. As long as one person liked it, and then I forget the episode happened, and then the highlights come that we picked. Anyway, tips. Somehow this might just sneak in under 2 hours.
Tips. Sorry, I can find it. Sorry, it just jumps when I.
And maybe I was going to read one of these.
Yeah. Well, do you want the Heineken Billy?
Yeah.
You do tip one.
Yeah. No, you do tip one. I'll do tip two.
Okay, sure. Heineken Billy. Someone else is onto it. Yes. I love that bloke.
About 100 people onto it.
Yeah. So, I'm a big fan of the pod. I've listened to all the episodes and have taken away many great tips, as well as one of my regular mantras: reduce demand to increase capacity. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Really enjoyed Big Emotions and love the Matrix scene choice to highlight how many of us, arguably most, don't routinely regulate our emotions too well. Not sure if you will take a plug for a book that isn't your own, Billy. They know.
It was tough to take.
They know us well, don't they?
They know very well.
But I've read a great book called The Tantrum Survival Guide by Rebecca Schrag-Hirschberg. It has a lot of crossover with your content and really helps reframe what's going on for kids' minds from a brain development point of view, which certainly helped me remember when my toddler was being insane, she was being appropriately developmentally insane. It also made me realise one night after a fight with my husband one evening, I was in fact just having an adult-sized tantrum because I was tired and hungry, so I picked a fight with him over something that really it wasn't about. So it turns out I am sometimes a little insane myself.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, also wanted to share a tip that I found really helpful with the post-tantrum regulation. Obviously, deep breathing is really is a powerful way to reset, but I found my little one would get angry if I suggested or even just modelled it and started escalating, which was very frustrating as I'd seen it work so beautifully with my sister and her little boy. Strangely, my 2-year-old wasn't there for explanations on vagus nerve stimulation and parasymptomatic nervous system weird. But one day I randomly started doing loud animal sounds which required a deep breath first and a forceful exhale to get the sound out. Cue teary elephant and sounds transitioning into fits of laughter and big cuddles, making both of us feel re-energised after a meltdown. Thanks again. Keep up the good work.
Amazing. Few things connect us better than humour. So it's beautiful. All right, tip 2, but yes, thank you. Hey, Nick and Billy. I discovered the podcast about a month ago and have been binge listening to the back catalogue ever since. I'm a mum of a 2.5-year-old, risk-taking, movement-seeking, highly sensitive little guy. I'm also an OT who works in the disability sector. I started listening for parenting support and have continued listening for ongoing professional development and to be able to share your wisdom with other families I work with. It's safe to say that between my 7 years working with kids with disability and developmental delays and my 2.5 years of parenting my little firecracker, that I've had my fair share of supporting a lot of big feelings. I'm also a highly sensitive person myself and see a lot of myself in my son. I often joke that I've been gifted my big feeling, strong-willed child to humble me as an OT and to finally give me some lived experience with the strategies I've been recommending to families all these years. Luckily, lots of them work. I could write a whole essay on the topic of big feelings, but if I had to narrow my biggest tips down to a few key words, it would be lean in and shut up. To clarify, this is my internal dialogue, not something I would say out loud. I know you've mentioned before on the pod the importance of limiting verbal input when a child is dysregulated and recognising these are not teachable moments, and it's so great to hear you sharing this because honestly I think it's one of the most important skills I've ever learnt as an OT, is not so much what we say but rather learning when to say nothing at all. Leaning into the big feelings has been an invaluable lesson for me, particularly as a parent. I used to dread the big meltdowns and try to solve the problem. But now, as long as I know all my son's needs are met, he's not hungry, thirsty, too hot or cold, in pain, etc., I try to simply listen, hold space, keep myself calm and genuinely welcome the giant feelings that are being thrown my way. It's not always easy, but I've seen time and time again that it's what he does when he does have those huge emotional releases, and when I do have capacity to just sit and comfort him, he's a different child afterwards. It's like a total reset. Often when toddlers are melting down about being given the wrong cup colour, food being cut the wrong way, or God forbid when you give them exactly what they asked you for, but then in the moments between them asking and you providing it, they change their mind and you somehow fail to predict it. The feelings that come up aren't ever really about the thing. It's usually a build-up of stress, tension, loss of control, etc. throughout the day, and by just listening and leaning into the big feelings, no matter how ridiculous they may seem, it's an opportunity for them to get all those built-up feelings off their chest, and they then seem to return to a beautiful state of balance, like a true reset. I've noticed if we try to distract our son from his big feelings, sometimes it works temporarily, but ultimately that feelings always catch up with us later on, and by then they're an even bigger, louder and more explosive. I'm definitely far from perfect with this. There are plenty of times where it doesn't go as planned, like if it's the end of a long day and I simply don't have the capacity, if we're out in public or racing a deadline, if I'm cooking dinner and just desperately need 5 minutes to be able to feed the family. But it's my plan A as much as possible, and thanks to this podcast I'm learning not to beat myself up when I have to revert to plan B. Thank you for all that you do. I hope this is helpful to at least one other parent who is overwhelmed by all the big feelings that come with parenthood, not just in our kids, but our own too. Amazing. God, the Allied Health guys are just guns. That's awesome.
Shut up. Lean in.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's great. So beautiful, beautifully articulated.
Just articulated perfectly.
Yeah. And
no matter how ridiculous it all is.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. So yes, thank you for that one. Last thing. Last bit of feedback.
All right. Cool. I haven't read it. Hi, Dr. Nick. Sorry. Hi, Dr. Billy and Nick. I've been trying to figure out when may be the best time to send you both a message, as I've been listening for quite a long time now and thoroughly enjoyed the journey you've both started. Firstly, I commend you both on starting the podcast, but also the two fantastic people you seem to be. I don't have a podcast myself. However, it's something that I've thought about for a very long time. I know the commitment would be very overwhelming, but I also feel it could be very satisfying. The last few years have been quite tough. I split up with my daughter's mum a few years ago. Things weren't fantastic for quite a long time, and my daughter has had to go through some really tough times. And it breaks my heart every day that she's had to deal with those big things because of an action I took for my mental health and well-being. It's a very long story. My ex had health issues, and something that I tried to assist with for over a decade. Unfortunately, she could never really get a good grasp on what she needed to do to help herself. My daughter's mum died at 35 years old in May this year. What has been an incredibly tough 3 years of frustration, hurt, sadness, but also over a decade of love, friendship and family has come to an end. Now starts a life for my 11-year-old daughter without a mum, and a life for me without a person I spent 13 years with. No matter how tough things were, I still loved her and wanted a good life for her. I've tried to support, guide and be the best person, the best parent for my daughter while navigating a situation I never thought I would ever be in. Nobody gets into a relationship knowing they're going to break up and go through a lot of heartache and drama, but life can be messy. I know my words are never going to come out how I truly like, but I think that what I wanted to express is how much this podcast, your knowledge, information and guidance has helped me. The skills that I've been learning over the past few years, I'm only just realising how much I would need them. Having to sit down on my bed, look at my daughter and tell her that her mum had just died was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to do. And I can't imagine what it would be like for her, but because of people like yourselves and some other amazing podcasts, books and wonderful people, I realised that I had some skills and tools that I could implement in that moment. I didn't try to solve or fix or explain anything, something I think most males do without realising how unhelpful it can be. I didn't say anything as a huge wave of emotions went through my daughter. I just held her, cried with her and told her I loved her. I can honestly say I don't know how I would have reacted in that moment if I hadn't listened to every single episode of the pod, but I am so glad that I did, and even more grateful that you both put it out there. Every episode is amazing, and I think one of the biggest takeaways is knowing that everyone is experiencing very similar thoughts in how we don't feel like we're not doing a good enough job, and sometimes I really have to step back and listen to other people who have spoken about my daughter and how she is going and been going for the past few years. She's seen counsellors, psychologists, support people, and is able to communicate with them in such a wonderful way that all of them have told me that she is an amazing little girl and has wonderful coping mechanisms and her ability to talk and share her feelings, but yet I still feel like I'm not doing a good enough job. Slowly but surely I'm trying to tell myself to listen to these people and not to be too harsh on myself. I've worked extremely hard on myself and continue to do so to be the best dad I can for my daughter. That growth hasn't been possible without the time and effort you both have given, and I'll forever be grateful. I could list a dozen episodes that have really hit me hard and have made me want to write something, but the latest episode of Big Feelings has pushed me to actually go through with it. Seeing my daughter go through so many big feelings and emotions sometimes, all at once, has been incredibly tough, but I'm confident all the strategies, advice and information you have given, we can both live a happy, joyful life with love, kindness and understanding. Dr. Nick and Billy, thank you from a true fan.
Yeah, super tough. But yeah, the strongest thing about this podcast is the people that listen to it and what they send in.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, more people listen to the part 2s and 3s than the part 1s, but we'll keep doing the part 1s just in case.
It's the part that we really we like to watch a movie.
Yeah. But it's amazing, isn't it? Just hearing people find it helpful that go through probably the hardest things that we'll ever go through in life just really humbles you, doesn't it?
I can't even understand that perspective or get my head into that space. That's something else.
But we'll definitely do a third, Big Feelings. There's so much amazing stuff sitting there. Keep sending stuff in, especially tips and reflections. There's a lot of stuff coming in. The only stuff we can answer is on topic on the pod at the moment.
Yep.
So, but still really appreciate everyone sending everything in and talking about, it just keeps us going.
Do we want more questions through to the...
Yeah, they've come. It's been coming up until the minute I went into airplane mode. They're amazing though. That's the best problem to have.
Pop culture.
That's why the questions are such high quality. Yeah, and use the Gmail. The Instagram is just getting hammered.
Stay off the Gmail.
Yeah, use the Gmail. Stay off. Instagram is great for like commenting, and we're using that to try and get reach. But it's not a great way to contact us.
Send questions via the Gmail. Is what I meant.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Billy. Really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to part 3 in a couple of weeks.
Beautiful. Thanks, Nick.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.